Hey, we're Paige and Alex, co-op students at Goose Digital. 6 weeks in, and we've hit the halfway mark.
Both tools are built. They've been tested, broken, rebuilt, and tested again. This week we're taking stock of where everything is and what the second half actually looks like.
The image tool has been running long enough now that it's easy to forget what the first generations actually looked like. Going back to them is a good reminder of how much has changed. The early outputs were a starting point as best. The pipeline has been through enough rounds of testing, breaking, and rebuilding that what exists now barely resembles where it started. The first round had just layouts, there were no images, and before I connected the API, we just had image placeholders. Then the images started coming through. They were very general, the brand guidelines clearly weren't being reflected. But now you can see that it's very on brand and very different from what it used to look like. What does the tool actually do now? On the generation side, users can apply universal style extensions, watercolor, comic page, or pixel art, or brand-specific visual identity styles unique to the clients. Brand assets get pulled in automatically. Reference images are built into the prompt with their own descriptions, so the model has better context for what it's actually looking at. The layout system is where a lot of the nuance lives. Editable text can be toggled on or off depending on how much control you want to hand to the model. CTAs can be turned on or off per design. And there are two generation modes. Editable, where the elements stay live on the canvas and can be tweaked without going back to the model, and fully baked, where everything just gets rendered into a single static image. This is useful for very high complexity designs or when you just want a finished asset. The layout is very useful for if you want reusable designs with text, something that's more fixed in place, or if you want all the specific fonts exactly. The layout decomposer goes the other direction. It reads an existing design, maybe from a different platform, and breaks it down into editable components, which means migrating current templates or onboarding new clients into the tool is a lot faster than rebuilding them from scratch manually. Templates are probably the feature that changed the workflow the most. They store the layout, styles, text, and images as a reusable starting point. But more than that, they store context about what they're actually for, and if you have a bunch of components, what the components are specifically. So, a reprompt doesn't need to re-explain the whole design. It just needs to say what's different this time. A product ID, a name, a location. Or you just fill in a couple things and it intelligently does the whole image itself. And for multiple formats, Reflow recomposes the full design to a new aspect ratio in a way that's content aware, all repositioned intelligently. Manual resizing is also an option for when you want more control. So with all these features, it's really easy to create several different types of graphics. You have your strict graphics, you have your specific design graphics, and you also can maintain the style consistency of your brand. The old tool was a shell, but now it's a lot more fleshed out and it's coming together really nicely. Moving forward, I'm going to think about using real client new clients as well as the current clients in the system and doing real examples that are actually being produced today, as well as figuring out how to integrate it with the current systems right now. And then moving forward, how that means we have to bring it into production.
On the website, the tool has moved well past generating a decent looking site. The platform now runs a structured intake process, a step-by-step wizard that collects everything the build needs. Business goals, target audience, brand identity, design preferences, technical requirements, all of these are put in for existing sites alongside existing sites with brand data that gets pulled automatically from a URL. With colors, topography, logos, business informations, all extracted before a single page gets built. Before anything generates, the system scores the brief for its completeness and flags what's missing. The AI isn't trying to fill gaps on its own. It's working from a validated source of truth. What comes out is a full handoff package with prompts, config files, supporting assets, and everything needed to generate and maintain the site. And the quality bar is set high by default. Every build includes accessibility standards, responsive layouts, SEO, security headers, structured data, and sitemap generation. Hero video workflows are integrated too, with brand-specific prompts generated as part of the process. Design quality was a big focus. Instead of open-ended prompts, the tool uses predefined layout systems that define structure and visual direction, so generated sites feel distinct rather than variations of the exact same template. We've tested the full workflow end to end against a real site. That exposed a few issues like navigation inconsistencies, accessibility, contrast problems, broken local links, but those are all resolved now, and the fixes apply to every future build. The remaining work is deployment. Right now, a developer can generate a complete site from the handoff package, but getting it live is still manual. The next phase is to develop a one-click deployment repo and creating that repo, hosting that repo, and then publishing it all in one step.
Both tools are at the stage now where the most useful feedback doesn't come from us. It comes from putting them in front of people who were involved in building them. Real briefs, real brand kits, real outputs that someone has to sign off on. Real people who create the images.
And that means finding out which parts hold up when the inputs aren't clean, the brand rules were never written down, or the request doesn't fit what the tool was designed for. The features that seem solid in testing will meet things we didn't plan for.
That's the work of the next few weeks. Not adding features, finding the edges.
And starting to think seriously about what production actually looks like. How both tools fit into existing workflows, where they hand off to a human, and what the output needs to look like for someone to use it without starting over.
The second half looks different from the first. Less building from zero, more figuring out what it takes to make something that actually ships.
See
See you next week.